Right, Dream Angel, page 128. In the meantime, I prepared the court brief for the hearing, which wouldn't be heard for another 6 months. While I prepared the court details, I received a telephone call from another detective who on the Gold Coast. Is this Tex? The male voice echoed through the telephone. Yes, I'm Detective Pat Ritter. Who's this? Yesterday I arrested a fellow you've already arrested for rape. We shared the information and it turned out he arrested the same rapist which he was released on bail. He'd raped a girl 18 years of age. The strange coincidence about the rape was before he raped her, he accused her of killing his parents in a road accident. Alarm bells echoed in my head. He used a similar story on his latest victim as he'd done on the first. Was it coincidence? Was it factual? What happened to the victim in the initial rape? Even the words used by the rapist were identical to what happened to the victim of the second rape. Only one small act was different. The second victim, the rapist made her suck his penis before he had sexual intercourse. Another major coincidence, there was no evidence of spermatosis. Sealing the comment by Graham, the rapist was a dry blower. Neither victim knew one another and had never met. Each lived more than 600 kilometres apart. There were too many similar acts and similar facts between the victim's story to be ignored. It was time for the trial of the accused. In this case, the Crown prosecutor was a young barrister who'd recently passed his bar examination to become a lawyer. On the accused side, he had the best lawyer in the land to defend him against two cases of rape. This was an interesting court procedure. Normally, each case would be heard separately before two separate judges and juries. In this case, the Crown prosecutor wanted to set a precedence to have both cases joined as one trial to allow all the evidence of both rape complaints to be given in one court in front of one selected jury. This was unusual because never before in the history of statute law had two charges of rape by one person on two different victims had ever been heard before together. Barristers on both sides argued to and fro if the two trials should be joined so each victim would give evidence in one of the hearing before the one jury. It was unheard of within legal circles, and this trial would set precedents for further court matters. Argument continued for 2 days when the judge supported a case of similar acts committed with similar facts relating to the same act of rape by the same person committed on two separate females who didn't know one another and also lived 600 kilometres from one another. The gladiator for the Crown finally convinced the judge to join both trials as one. It turned out to be a touch of genius. After 3 weeks of court proceedings, the accused was found guilty of the rape of the school teacher Cunnamulla, but not guilty of the other rape because there was a slight doubt about the act when she sucked his penis. He was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment. It was another step in the ladder of success for me to succeed as a competent investigator. Daryl and Greg were transferred to a one-man detective office. I thought about how they'd cope and decided to expand my horizons and find a vacancy at a one-man detective office myself. Growth is strange to experience, particularly when risk takes on a deeper meaning. I was happy to work with the leader, but there was a deeper desire to experience a one-man detective office. Since Daryl and Greg left, my self-confidence improved, but I always had the leader to fall back on if I needed to convince myself of my own abilities as a detective. Was it time for me to stretch myself to the next level of being an investigator? There was a risk of transfer to a one-man detective office, of not being able to cope with the demand of work. I always looked at my career as a whole of life. I wanted to reach commissioned officer rank by the age of 45. I was now 30 years of age, so I had 15 years to reach my goal. I pictured myself dressed in a commissioned officer's uniform in charge of the police district, the same as my present inspector. I studied for examinations and passed each one as they were graded for each rank. I was dedicated to the work as a detective and it took over the major part of my life. My mind always on alert for wrongdoers, and I pushed my ability as a detective to greater heights for self-improvement. Was it time for a challenge at a one-man detective office? Whilst I pondered my future, The leader lessened his own workload and passed more serious crimes on to me to investigate. Whilst I enjoyed the extra workload, after a while, bells and whistles started to explode in my head. I was being used, and the share of work was disproportionate. I was heading out for burnout and hadn't taken a holiday in 3 years and was overdue for long service leave. Advertised in the Police Gazette for transfers with one-man detective office. It was in a country town, Cunnamulla. Was it an opportunity or work or running away from responsibility? It's not as if I was going anywhere I hadn't been before. I would know if I didn't have a go. I felt alive in the challenge when I got the job. I was in an home and I returned to Cunnamulla as a detective. This was the third time to the town, and my parents were born there as well as my wife. We married in the town almost 10 years before. Her family still lived there, or did fate lead me to the transfer to Cunnamulla? Was I destined to work again in the town to discover what may help me in the future? I needed to know.